Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to learn another common way to say that you think something, and we're going to need to learn a new kind of conjugation. This conjugation will actually change whether it's being used with an action verb or a descriptive verb, as well as whether that verb is in the past tense, the present tense, or in the future tense. But the basic form of this new conjugation is that you're changing a verb into an adjective. So here's how it works. You'll change an action verb or a descriptive verb into an adjective. Then you'll add 것, or just 거, followed by the descriptive verb 같다, and conjugate it. First, here are just two examples with descriptive verbs in the present tense. 저는 좋은 것 같아요. I think it is good. 너무 비싼 것 같아요. I think it is too expensive. Now, we've already learned how to change a descriptive verb into an adjective, but only in the present tense. So let's learn how we can do that in the past tense and future tense. When a descriptive verb is conjugated to the present tense, which is the form we've already learned, you can think of this as meaning a noun that is descriptive verb. In the future tense, you can think of this as meaning a noun that will be descriptive verb. And in the past tense, you can think of this as meaning a noun that was descriptive verb. So here's a review of how to change descriptive verbs into adjectives in the present tense. First, get a descriptive verb stem. Then attach un if it ends in a consonant, or just attach a nian if it ends in a vowel. Or if the verb stem ends with a lir, remove the lir, then add nian. So 길다, to be long, would become 긴. Or if the verb stem ends with a piup, remove the piup and attach u, followed by a nian. So 맵다, to be spicy, would become 매운. And again, this is the form for conjugating descriptive verbs into adjectives that we've already learned. But descriptive verbs can also be conjugated as adjectives in the future tense, and you can think of this like a noun that will be descriptive verb. Here's how to do that. Get a descriptive verb stem, then attach 을 if it ends in a consonant, or attach a lir if it ends in a vowel. For example, 좋다, to be good, would become 좋을. And 바쁘다, to be busy, would become 바쁠. If the verb stem ends with lir, it's finished. So 길다, to be long, becomes 길. Or if the verb stem ends with a piup, remove the piup and attach u, as usual, followed by a lir. So 맵다, to be spicy, would become 매울. Descriptive verbs can also be conjugated to adjectives in the past tense, and you can think of this as meaning a noun that was descriptive verb. To do that, conjugate a descriptive verb to the past tense as usual, and then get its stem by removing anything after the end. Then attach 던. For example, 좋다 would become 좋았던. 길다 would become 길었던. And 맵다 would become 매웠던. Okay, so we've learned how to conjugate descriptive verbs into adjectives in the past tense, present tense, and future tense. So let's take a look at some example sentences using each of those. First, in the present tense, 좋은 것 같아요. I think it is good. In the future tense, 좋을 것 같아요. I think it will be good. And the past tense, 좋았던 것 같아요. I think it was good. In the present tense, 조금 매운 것 같아요. I think it is a little spicy. In the future tense, 조금 매울 것 같아요. I think it will be a little spicy. And in the past tense, 조금 매웠던 것 같아요. I think it was a little spicy. Now remember that 있다 and 없다 conjugate as 있는 and 없는. However, this is only in the present tense. These are exceptions. In the past tense, these verbs become 있었던 and 없었던 as usual. And in the future tense, they become 있을 and 없을. But not only descriptive verbs, also action verbs can be conjugated into adjectives and then used before a verb. What this means is, in the present tense, you can think of this as meaning something or someone who does something. In the past tense, something or someone who did something. And in the future tense, something or someone who will do something. So first, let's look at the present tense. Get an action verb stem and attach 는. For example, 하다 would become 하는, and 먹다 would become 먹는. Or if the verb stem ends with lir, remove the lir and attach 는. So 살다, to live, becomes 사는. And in fact, we already learned this conjugation when we did nominalization forms. Now that was the present tense, but action verbs can also be conjugated as adjectives in the future tense, meaning a person or thing that will do something. To do that, get an action verb stem, then attach 을 if it ends in a consonant, or attach lir if it ends in a vowel. For example, 하다 becomes 할, and 먹다 becomes 먹을. If the verb stem ends with lir, it's finished. So 살다, to live, becomes 살. Or if the verb stem ends with a piup, remove the piup and attach u as usual, then lir. So 눕다, to lie down, becomes 누울. And we can also conjugate an action verb into a past tense adjective. In this way, it means a noun, so a person or thing who did something. Here's how to do that. Get an action verb stem, then attach 은 if it ends in a consonant, or attach a nian if it ends in a vowel. For example, 하다 will become 한, and 먹다 will become 먹은. Or if the verb stem ends with a lir, remove the lir and attach nian. So 살다, to live, would become 산. Or if the verb stem ends with a piup, remove the piup and attach u, then nian. So the verb 눕다, to lie down, would become 누운. Okay, so before we go any further, let's take a look at some example sentences of adjectives that were conjugated from action verbs in the past, present, and future tense. In the present tense, 빌리 씨가 김치를 좋아하는 것 같아요. I think Billy likes kimchi. In the future tense, 빌리 씨가 김치를 좋아할 것 같아요. I think Billy will like kimchi. Or in the past tense, 빌리 씨가 김치를 좋아한 것 같아요. I think Billy liked kimchi. In the present tense, 빌리 씨가 점심을 먹는 것 같아요. I think Billy is eating lunch. In the future tense, 빌리 씨가 점심을 먹을 것 같아요. I think Billy will eat lunch. And in the past tense, 빌리 씨가 점심을 먹은 것 같아요. I think Billy ate lunch. Now we'll do some more examples of these forms as well as how we can use it in the future, but first let's just take a look at a conversation practice between two people, 채린 and 민지. First, 채린 says, 아, 졸려요. Ah, I'm sleepy. 빨리 집에 가고 싶어요. I want to go home quickly. Or I want to go home right away. 집에 가고 싶다고요? Did you say you want to go home? 저도 같이 가요. I go together with you, or I'll go together with you. 정말요? Really? 지금 저녁도 같이 먹으러 갈까요? Now, shall we go to eat dinner together? Or shall we go eat dinner together now? 오, 그게 좋을 것 같아요. Oh, I think that will be good. 그럼 우리 집 옆에 있는 식당은 어떨까요? Well then, how about the restaurant that is next to our house? Here, 옆에 있는, that is next to, 있는, present tense adjective. 좋죠. Yeah, that's good. 지난번에 거기 갔을 때 불고기가 너무 맛있었던 것 같아요. Last time when we went there, I think the 불고기 was so delicious. Note that 너무 means so much or too much, but it can also be used in informal speech to just mean very or so when you want to exaggerate something. So, I think it was so good. 그렇게 맛있는 불고기가 정말 드문 것 같아요. I think that kind of delicious 불고기 is really rare. Note that 그렇게, meaning like that or that, is commonly used before adjectives to mean that adjective. So here, that delicious. So, 불고기 that is that delicious, present tense adjective. 양도 많아요. Literally, the quantity is a lot also, or the portion size is large. 그런 식당은 흔하지 않은 것 같아요. I think that kind of restaurant is not common. Note how 흔하다 becomes an adjective by attaching 지 않은, because it's a descriptive verb. If it were an action verb, it would have instead become 지 않는.
아, 졸려요. 빨리 집에 가고 싶어요. 집에 가고 싶다고요? 저도 같이 가요. 정말요? 지금 저녁도 같이 먹으러 갈까요? 오, 그게 좋을 것 같아요. 그럼 우리 집 옆에 있는 식당은 어떨까요? 좋죠. 지난번에 거기 갔을 때 불고기가 너무 맛있었던 것 같아요. 그렇게 맛있는 불고기가 정말 드문 것 같아요. 양도 많아요. 그런 식당은 흔하지 않은 것 같아요.
Okay, this was a large lesson, and we did learn several new ways of conjugating action verbs and descriptive verbs. But know that these sorts of forms will be used all of the time in Korean, so you'll have plenty of chances to get good at using them. And these forms are going to be essential in order to later create more complex sentences. So now let's talk about these two forms, 생각하다 and 것 같다, which are both used to say what you think. However, this 것 같다 form is more common in speech, while the 생각하다 form is more common in writing. Therefore, you do need to learn both forms. Now, conjugating these forms quickly will only come with time and a lot of practice. But fortunately, you will likely want to express your thoughts frequently when speaking with people, so you're going to have plenty of opportunities to practice them. So in this lesson, we learned another way to say what you're thinking, as well as how to conjugate action verbs and descriptive verbs into adjectives. So practice everything in this lesson, and I'll see you again in the next lesson. 그럼 다음에 또 봐!